I'm Dick Hunter. I'm chair of the Clements Hall Local History Group in York, and we have developed a project on the experience and the legacy of the First World War. And one of our themes is the impact of the Zeppelin Raid on the 2nd of May 1916. And this affected our area substantially. There were 3 people killed in the locality, there were around 40 injured, and 9 killed in York. So I'm standing next to a plaque which has been erected recently on the gates here of Millthorpe School, and this lists the 9 people who were killed, 3 of whom from here and 6 from the St Saviour Gate area in York. York was attacked in May 1916, but the first attack by Zeppelins on Britain was on Great Yarmouth back in January 1915. And between January 1915 and May 1916, many British towns and cities and villages had been attacked. So there's a pattern of coastal areas and big cities, including London and Hull and Middlesbrough, all attacked well before York. So in a sense, perhaps York was not prepared. It wasn't an obvious target, but air raid precautions were put in place, and York only had 2 more Zeppelin attacks later in 1916, and neither of those was significant. Zeppelin L-21 came over the Yorkshire coast north of Scarborough and then took a route over Pickering and Sheriff Hutton and came on down as far as Neyburn, where it turned, and then came back over Bishop Thorpe and the Knavesmire, and it dropped bombs on what was the auxiliary hospital at Nunthorpe Hall. And the soldiers were not injured, but the place was evacuated, and the airship came on over Nunthorpe Court and then over Nunthorpe Avenue, and it dropped a bomb at number 6, the home of the Chapmans, and there were casualties. The family were on the street when the bomb fell, and a young woman, Emily Chapman, was killed, and her sister was injured. And we have a letter from the injured Nora from York County Hospital, writing to her friend Annie Ryder in Leeds.
My dear Annie, it is terrible news I have to tell you. My poor darling sister was killed in the air raid. My dear darling mother has had her left arm shot off, and I am very badly wounded at the top of my right arm and 3 wounds in my back. Mother and I are getting on as well as can be expected, but it will be a slow job. The house is absolutely wrecked.
So the Zeppelin came over Scarborough Road and dropped a bomb on Upper Price Street and demolished one house. There was an elderly couple living there, the Aversons, both of whom were killed. And we have contact now with the descendants, and they have given us photographs of some of the artifacts that were not destroyed on that bombing raid. We're very grateful for the family in helping to fill out the story.
The bricks around the door are a different colour from all the other bricks down the road, and that's because when they rebuilt it, they couldn't get hold of those old clinker bricks, I don't think, and so they built it with the red bricks, which the previous owner didn't like, but it's quite nice to have them different from the rest of the street.
The Zeppelin went on over Nunthorpe Road, damaging properties, then over Nunnery Lane and over Bishop Hill, damaging properties in Kime Street and other streets on Bishop Hill, and then went on over the river and then dropped more bombs in the St Saviour Gate area where there were 6 people killed. We're standing outside Scarcroft School, and during the First World War there were some 1,000 pupils at the school, around 3 times as many pupils as there are today. We've got very useful primary source material from the school archives, and the school logbooks prepared by the head teachers here show that the attendance by pupils after the raid was much reduced.
A German air raid was made on this part of York last night. Much damage was done in the neighbourhood of the school, and people are much alarmed. In consequence, attendance at school has been disturbed.
In addition to those, we've found 2 letters that were written by a father and also by one of his sons from 230 Bishopthorpe Road. These were eyewitness accounts of the Zeppelin Raid.
The Zepp passed directly over our house, then turned to the left over the canvas and across Nunthorpe Hall, where the wounded soldiers were. The first bombs were dropped there about half a minute or less after passing over our house, which set the hall on fire, and all the patients had to be taken away by motor car. I saw the Zepp quite clearly coming up from Bishopthorpe. The noise from the machinery was very loud. It was travelling very fast, and not, I think, particularly high. 3 houses were knocked down in Caroline Street, and scores if not hundreds of houses seriously damaged round about there, thousands of windows being blown in. Nunthorpe Road caught it very severely, particularly around Kettlewells the Butchers, and right up to St Clement's Church, which had a few, perhaps 40, small panes broken.
Mother was just doing her hair, and I was reading after having my supper, whilst Dad was lying on the couch when suddenly the light went nearly out. We didn't think so very much about it at the time, as we have had it low before when there was no raid. Just then we heard a very faint droning sound, which rapidly grew louder and louder. By this time Dad had spotted a Zepp coming right up from Bishopthorpe at great speed. The next we heard were 3 awful dull bangs, which shook all the doors and windows very badly. These were quickly followed by 4 more, and these by a lot more. Each bang absolutely shook the house.
The letter by the son Jack to his sister Ellen mentions that the gas supply in the house was lowered. The gas lights began to flicker in the house. Now this was the evidence that the municipal authorities were warning residents in their homes that an attack was imminent. And so we've actually got that evidence in the letter. So we're standing next to Clements Hall, and this is where we meet with the Clements Hall Local History Group, and the Zeppelin project's been one of our main projects up till now. One feature has been a public meeting attended by around 80 people, which took place on the week of the centenary of the air raid. And we had readings of eyewitness accounts, and we also had displays by local schools, Millthorpe School, the Mount School, and Scarcroft Primary School. So we've been very pleased to have been working with the local schools, and we also had a trail with them, following the Zeppelin trail around the locality. In addition to that, we've had a story based on tweets, a live tweet story over the night of the Zeppelin Raid, and we're hoping now to do a blog on our website which will summarize what we've been doing, with links to some of the eyewitness accounts and photographs from the air raid.
Before this house became a school, it was actually Nunthorpe Court, and in 1916 it was a house of Colonel Macy Thompson, who was actually away that evening in Harrogate, and he'd left his wife here alone with the servants and the locals to shelter in the cellars, fearful of their lives. So there's a real personal story, real personal start to the story of the Zeppelin Raid for the school, and by getting in touch with Clements Hall History and the Mount, who've all got their own story for it as well, we've been able to expand and go out into the community and find out exactly what happened to the area. So it starts actually inside the school building, and that's why we've put the plaque up here to commemorate that. One of the things we're most proud of in this whole research project is actually a lasting legacy that we've got here for future students to see, of the plaque that commemorates the 9 people that died in the local Zeppelin Raid. And it's an accumulation of all the research that's come from the Clements Hall History Group. They've fed us in the extra names that we didn't have 15 years ago. There's 2 soldiers that we've put on there that weren't on the original plaque that we had there. And there was a big ceremony today to open that plaque, which we've got photos of that. The local council came down to open that with us, so that was a big deal for Nunthorpe School.
A lot of attention in the centenary of the First World War is focused on the Western Front and with the battlefields. But here with the Zeppelin Raid we have the occasion where the war front meets the home front, with the shock of the war coming to the streets of South Bank and Clementhorpe. So for us it's been a chance to engage with many new people in the locality, and also a chance for us to explore new sources like the eyewitness accounts, and to go into schools like Scarcroft and to meet some of the young people and talk to them about the experiences. We think local history is important for all ages, and so it's been great that young people have embraced this as a topic that they really want to explore.